Okay, I'm, if you don't know me, Michael Cantwell, the president of this club. And, you know, it's a cliche to say that there's no right more precious or fundamental to the state than the right to vote, but it's true. When Amendment 4 passed over a year ago, 65% of voters voted for it. Democrats don't make up 65% of Florida. So this was truly bipartisan. It should be nonpartisan, but I guess it hadn't turned out that way. The legislature passed a bill that you probably heard of, SB 7066, which interpreted and implemented the Amendment 4. And it seemed to create roadblocks. It seemed to be not the automatic Amendment 4 passed, you go in, you serve the terms of your sentence, and you can register to vote. Desmond Meade, who's the president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, said in the press conference last week, where others see obstacles, we see opportunities. And that's what happened. We're going to hear about those opportunities tonight. And I just have to say that I'm in awe and admiration for what the people presenting here, their offices, and their organizations have done to give a second chance to people who were convicted of a felony. So our own Nancy Channon is going to introduce the speakers. She co-chaired a committee with a lot of people that have worked long and hard to have this work around. So, Nancy.
Thanks, and thanks for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. So just real quick, about 6 months ago, we started a committee. It's comprised of people from the State Attorney's Office, the Public Defender's Office, the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, people from Reentry, county commissioners, state reps or their representatives, and state senators or their representatives. And it's, you know, it's very, you know, the committee is very complete, you know, holistic, you know, someone from everyone there. Someone from everyone is there. And we've been meeting monthly, and the two people who are here tonight are on the committee that, as Michael said, I've been co-chairing. And they've just done, I mean, all I can do is get people together, you know, but they're the ones who've done the real work. I mean, they're amazing. So tonight we have Mike Edmondson was supposed to come. He's Dave Ehrenberg's, State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg's executive assistant, but he was unable to attend. He would have if he could have, trust me. So we have Daniel Eisinger. He's an assistant public defender with Carrie Howitt. And then Jessica Yance, whose title apparently changes all the time, but this is what I have. Research and Policy Director from the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. So they're going to come up here and talk about what's happened since the Senate bill passed and how we're trying to maximize the number of returning citizens who can vote. So let's give them a round of applause.
Whatever's comfortable.
Does this work? No.
I think it is on, but the portable ones are actually louder, I think. So.
Okay. Hello? No? Turn it on?
Turn it on, yeah, that'll help. Yeah.
Still says red. I wouldn't share this one. You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
So, as Nancy said, by the way, she deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
She really sort of got all of us together and sort of pushed us maybe harder than some would have liked to get things going. And although she isn't a lawyer and she's not necessarily part of Jessica's group, she really just kept pushing and pushing and being a pushy, nosy. So she gets a lot of credit, I think, for what she's done. As she said, my name is Dan Eisner. I work at the Public Defender's Office. I supervise all of our felony lawyers. So these are the folks that are returning, sometimes from the Department of Corrections, and they're looking to get back into society. You know, for me, for us, our office, this isn't like necessarily a political issue. You know, I know a lot of folks want people to vote because they think they'll vote a certain way, and that might lead to a result come November 2020. But for us, it's more about re-entry. You know, these are people who need and deserve the right to be one of us again. They've served their debt to society, they've paid for their crimes, and now it's time to get them back because they deserve to have the integrity to know that we want them to be with us. They have a right to say who should be their president or county commissioner or local politician. And so it's more about that for us than anything else. If they're disenfranchised, if they aren't part of our community, then they're never going to succeed, and thus we won't succeed as a community. So that's why this meant so much to us. I can tell you kind of just what happened locally if you're interested. It became clear after all of what Jessica's folks did that it was all about, well, what is part of the sentence? So in other words, the amendment that passed basically said once you have completed your sentence, then you can vote. And so what the Republican majority of folks that did in Tallahassee is they tried to figure out, well, how do we make the sentence longer before they can vote? And so what they came up with, I guess smartly, was that we would say, well, if they haven't paid all their court cost obligations, then their sentences aren't complete. And I can just tell you from working in the courtroom every day, and I've been doing that for 15 years, none of us considered court costs to be part of the sentence. I mean, that's just not anything we ever thought of. Court costs are just sort of a price for doing business. In other words, the different players in the courtroom get funding, sadly, from the backs of poor people who have to pay for their cases to be prosecuted. When you get convicted of a charge, even on a simple misdemeanor, your court cost will be somewhere around $300 to $500. And so the folks in Tallahassee said, I bet you a lot of these people can't pay those court costs, so if we just sort of say that's part of their sentence, they'll never vote. And so what we did locally is we kind of looked at the law. We realized that there was a workaround. There was a way to remove court costs from being part of the sentence. And after a lot of back and forth, a lot of meeting, a lot of arguing, a lot of talking, we agreed that for folks that are interested, returning citizens, we could remove the court costs out of our sentencing documents and not make it part of the sentence locally. And so that's how we've been able to achieve some success. So those people still owe that money, but it's no longer part of their sentence, at least not in Palm Beach County. In other places, it still is. And again, it's not like they don't still have to pay those fees, but it will not affect their ability to vote. So that's essentially what's happened here. I can tell you there are certain crimes that people, they commit, they still can't vote. This isn't like across the board for everybody. The really, really bad stuff, they won't be able to. But for the most part, for all of our basic third degree, second degree felonies, they'll be able to vote, so long as they're interested and so long as we can take the court costs out of their sentencing documents. And so that's what we've been able to accomplish locally. So that's where we are. We have Jessica's group sends over a bunch of names of people that are interested in voting, and then we start vetting them to see what they owe, what they don't owe, and what we can do for them. Just to be perfectly clear, fines and restitutions. The restitution is simply what you owe the victim if you steal $1,000 worth of stuff from somebody, and the judge says you got to pay that back. That is part of the sentence, and I think that's something we can agree on. That was part of the punishment, but that's a very small percentage of our cases, a very small percentage of our clients. So outside of that, we're able to help them. And so far, we just really started this in terms of getting the agreement going. We already have about 7 or 8 orders ready to be signed by the chief judge. She's on board to do that. State attorney's on board, public defender's office. So we've really done some good work. I can tell you that's not true across the state. Jessica can tell you more about that. So we're proud of that. We hope it'll be great. And again, for us, it's all about getting our clients re-entered back into society in a meaningful and special way. And so that's what we're doing.
No, that's wonderful.
Thank you. Again, I just want to thank Nancy. A lot of the work that we did here wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for her. So I am from the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. I am a returning citizen. I have a felony conviction from almost 20 years ago. I passed the bar, but I was not admitted because I have a felony conviction. So I've been spending most of my life working to change some policies to make it easier for reentry. What 7066 did was, like Desmond said, other people saw obstacles and we saw an opportunity. We're utilizing the provisions of the law, specifically the 4 corners of the sentencing document provision, to determine what needs to be complete in order for people to be able to register to vote. What we've done in Palm Beach County, as Dan explained, was actually develop a method to separate out the fees and costs from the sentencing document so people could become eligible. What's happening in other counties is that either we can't get the stakeholders to agree on a process, so we just have to file individual motions. Otherwise, there's not enough applicants in the area that are applying to actually set up a program. So what FRC did is develop an attorney assistance program. So not only do we have the fines and fees program for people to apply to address their financial obligations in each county, we've developed a training with a CLE credit for attorneys who want to volunteer so we can help everybody throughout the state, no matter where they live, through this process. We've also started a fines and fees fund and raised almost $500,000 to help pay off some of these fees and costs that are preventing people from being able to register.
Cool. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So we're really excited about the work that we're doing here in Palm Beach County. We recently had the press conference. We were trying to get the orders ready so the first people that were benefiting from the program could be there, but they're almost ready to go, and we're just really excited to move forward. And we're really here tonight to answer any questions anybody has regarding the system here, the program here, and what we're doing throughout the state. Yes?
Yeah, maybe one of you could tell us a little about the Supreme Court in Florida, and then the ACLU lost, at the lawsuit. That would be great. And how, where it's at, what do you think will happen, and how that will impact the future?
So I guess I'll let no. Okay, so I'm not a practicing attorney, so I can't say. But in our opinion, Amendment 4 is constitutional. It's constitutional on its face, and based on the interpretation is what's going to determine what this completion of sentence standard is and whether or not financial obligations are included. And if that's the case, the analysis on the constitutionality will be an as-applied argument. So it's not unconstitutional on its face, and it would even not be unconstitutional for people that don't owe financial obligation. It would only potentially be unconstitutional to some people that have financial obligations. So we're confident in the constitutionality of Amendment 4, but we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainties, and it's specific to the inability to pay standard is what we're seeing right now. So what Judge Hinkle did in the federal case was delay the trial till April, so the legislation, the upcoming session, has an opportunity to address it. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen in session, and we don't know what's going to happen in the trial. But that's our opinion.
Yeah, there was some good.
Yeah.
There
Delray
was,
died.
it did. There was some good, the federal ruling was really positive. It seemed like we're heading in the right direction. And then the Supreme Court of Florida, if you watched it, it didn't feel so good. So like Jessica said, we really don't know where we're headed, but that's why it was so important here locally for us to just get going. If we could just get some people registered now, before maybe, everything was sorted out, maybe they can still kind of vote. So we didn't want to wait. I think other places were like, well, why don't you wait? Why don't you see what Tallahassee does, see what they do in session? And it was our position, we just push forward.
And Judge Hinkle even said, continue the work you're doing on the ground. So we're comfortable. We're following the letter of the law right now, and we're staying away from, for the most part, the inability to pay standard in our approach and analysis to separating out the fees and costs.
In terms of of Judge Hinkle's opinion, it seemed to me that the part of it that said it's unconstitutional if you cannot afford to pay, that, and I don't know how many people that involves and how easy it is to prove. It seemed like he was unclear about how you would do that, but that part of it seemed as if there's nothing that anyone could do to prevent that ruling from standing. I mean, he cited some 11th Circuit opinion on bonk, unless it goes up to the Supreme Court, but I don't know, are there many people that fall into that category, that would be able to prove that they can't afford $300?
It depends on what they determine the standard is. Is it gonna be an indigent standard, or is it just gonna be a standard inability to pay based on your income? Because there's so many ways that can be addressed, and we don't know. That's the uncertainty.
I mean, clearly, the Republicans in Tallahassee think most people can't pay. And that's why they did it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you might be doing it like one person at a time for Palm Beach County. So, I mean, that's kind of tough to get the people. How do you get the people? I know you said, so how do you get the people?
So we're an organization made up of and run by returning citizens. So if people are coming to us, we're not going to anyone saying, we know you're a returning citizen, please register. We work throughout the Amendment 4 campaign to build relationships, to go into communities, to serve the communities, and to get people engaged from the beginning. So most of the people that we're, in the communities we're going to already know of us. They're coming to us with questions, and then we're providing the service by connecting them with the stakeholders in each county.
I get letters from people in prison, which is really cool when you think about it. Hey, I'll be out in 2 years, I want to vote. What do I do?
Right.
So it's really neat, they're paying attention, they know what's going on, and they're tired of not being part of the community.
How employable are these felons once they have their rights restricted? Is there a law that says they can't be hired, or no? So they can go anywhere and get work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they have to check the box, though? Do we have the box
Oh,
in
yeah.
Florida? Yes.
Oh, yeah, most applications ask you these days, are you a convicted
Oh,
felon?
okay.
Most don't ask about
And
this.
most applications now are online, which makes it even harder. You can't even have that personal experience to get in the door, so it's very difficult.
The crappy part is, we convict so many people in Florida that employers are like, well, I gotta hire them.
Yeah.
The pool is shrinking.
Yeah.
A quick statement and a question. That's the first thing I thought, how can they expect someone to pay hundreds of dollars a month when you don't have a job, when some employers won't hire an ex-felon, when you may not have skills, depending on how long you've been away and you need some tutoring. It's absolutely immoral, I think, because they know what the obstacles are. My question is this, don't say, it didn't happen, so don't worry about it. Can your appeals, is that what we're talking about now? We don't know, okay. Anyway, to be written, to preclude the state from adding even more charges to it, because I fear that's what they're going to do. In other words, if you can continue getting, people registered when they can prove they cannot pay, I'm just wondering what they're going to tack on next, and can it be set up so they can't do that?
You mean try to arrest people and get more charges on them?
No.
Figuring out a way.
Oh, charges, money.
Another requirement
Fine.
to register.
Yeah, I mean, I like to consider myself an optimist. I hope that, as he said, 65% of the voters said, which is way more than I think a lot. I can't speak for anybody. A lot more than I expected. A solid majority said enough's enough. Let them. They come back. Let them vote. So I would hope that at some point the elected officials will listen to their constituents and not do what you're saying. Say, no, we're not going to add more and more and more. There is, to me, the other bigger problem is, again, that we force our defendants, our poor defendants, to pay for our criminal justice system. There's something immoral about that. Part of the state attorney's fees come from the person they convict. That just seems wrong. The clerk. So that's another issue. When I started working as a lawyer 15 years ago, it was $200 for a misdemeanor, and like I said, now it's double that. So I'm not sure what changed. We're still in the same courthouse. We still have the same amount of judges, same amount of lawyers. We're just tacking on more and more and more. And it gets to the point where I'm blown away how much this stuff costs. Now, the only thing I'll say is those that are convicted can ask judges to allow them to do community service hours in lieu of paying off court costs. And in Palm Beach County, the judges are pretty open to that. So if you're not working and you've got some time, you can do an hour of community service, which will count for $10 towards your court costs. So 50 hours to pay off your misdemeanor. It's not great, but it's something, and that'll sort of get rid of your monetary obligations.
But that was judge by judge.
So the question was, each judge gets to decide that, and the answer is yes. Although in Palm Beach, we're pretty good. I think the judges are pretty good about that. But I know, Chester maybe know better, that in certain jurisdictions around the state, not so good. Because that's where they get their money from.
We had something in the back.
I have two questions. One is, are you basically saying that if the person's found innocent, then there's...
If the person is found innocent, then there's no money. So it's in the interest of the courts to convict people so they can get paid.
That's an awfully cynical way of looking at it, but yes. If you're acquitted, you don't owe anything. You actually, if you're in jail, you can actually get, they charge you to be in jail, right? It's like $5 a day to actually live in the jail. And if your family puts what's called commissary or canteen, so you can get special foods and whatever, before they give you that they'll take out the money, the rent for being in jail.
Because you can't afford to pay bail.
Because you can't pay bonds to get out. So, but if you're acquitted, if you're found not guilty, or the state drops your case, you don't have any monetary obligations. You don't.
So it's good to convict them so we can get their money. The second question is, do those court fees, if you can't pay your court fees, does that prohibit you from getting a driver's license?
Yes.
And then if you can't have a driver's license, you don't have any ID, and then you can't get a job to pay the court fees. Is that all right?
That's all right.
Okay. Thank you.
It's all wrong, but it's all right.
The criminal justice system, right?
Well, somewhere along the way, Tallahassee, or not just Tallahassee, but all over the country, they decided that if you told people they would lose their driver's license, they would pay their court costs. And that's just not reality.
Do you have any idea how much money needs to be raised to pay all of the fines for all of Palm Beach County, at least?
So the fines are
$100?
statutory and they're part of the in the sentencing document, but the 7066 gives us the opportunity to modify them. So we do have ways to address them as well, but because of the litigation and upcoming legislation where, you know, it's a little bit uncertain, we will be addressing modifications as well, but we're focusing on the four corners provision at this point.
But it's millions. I mean, oh yeah, it's a crazy amount of money.
So can you give us just a brief summary idea of the number of people that we're talking about that are, by the amendment, eligible to vote that are being disenfranchised by this, you know,
It's an estimated 560,000.
in the state?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have goals in terms?
560,000.
Is that just Palm Beach or all of Florida?
No, all of Florida. It's an estimate from the sentencing project.
So I mean, do you have goals in terms of how many of those 560,000 you think should be able to get returned?
We're just trying to encourage people to register for the program so they can have their dispositions reviewed. We're finding a lot of people that have applied just need a review. They're just not sure.
Yeah,
So a lot of people that are coming through the system can actually go register. They just didn't know that they could.
Yeah, so there are people today that can go up and register
Yeah.
until the,
Over
you know, if the
800,000.
legislation changed or something, that could be taken away. But if, once they get their voter card, I mean, they're maybe grandfathered into that regardless.
Yeah. Just remember, you guys know better, you're the political experts, but what percentage of Americans vote generally?
Right. Yeah.
30-some percent?
Yeah.
So don't expect, I don't think that attorney says they're gonna be 100%.
No.
And I'd like to add to that and change that perspective, because what we did with Amendment 4
Right.
is we did not just treat this just as this ballot petition and, you know, for the constitutional amendment. We went out and we wanted to encourage people and get people excited about engaging. So we ran a public education and engagement plan simultaneous with our Amendment 4 campaign. So the whole step of the way, we were getting people excited. People that couldn't vote, we're getting people to get to the polls for them. So we expect a different turnout than what the norm is,
Yeah.
especially throughout the nation.
Yeah, and I recognize that. I mean, you're taking individuals and restoring them to the full citizenship life, so it's not a numbers game.
I mean, you can
at all.
tell, like the ones I've spoken to, you can tell this means more to them. The rest, I mean, not the rest of us, but a lot of people take for granted the ability to vote,
Right.
right?
Sure.
It's something where we feel like it's no big deal. For some of the folks I've talked to, it's everything. They're just so desperate to get in there. And like Jessica said, they don't realize they've been nervous about trying without knowing that they can actually just go do it. And so we're hoping that at least we'll be able to say, yeah, you're
But
fine.
the other thing that I want to add to that is, when we did our pilot program in 2017, what we found is in the neighborhoods that didn't have high turnout rates, almost everybody had somebody that they knew that was impacted by the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
So that was actually impacting whole households from getting out and registering or voting. So this changed the dynamic of families, you know, so we anticipate people that weren't even registered, that could register, that not involved in the criminal justice system, to go get registered as well.
Okay, and I apologize.
Yeah, I know, you've been waiting.
For being late, and you may have already addressed this, but I had two questions for you. One is, are there late fees that are being accrued with the ones who can't pay? And then, do they have to pay the late fees on top of what they owe as well?
Right, so if you don't stay on a payment plan, let's say, the clerk in Palm Beach will let you pay a pretty nominal amount, and so long as you keep paying it, they won't suspend your license and they won't do all that bad stuff. But let's just say you can't pay anything and you just get off the payment plan, it does go into collections, which is, these are private companies, and the interest rate can be astronomical, and $500 can turn into $1,000 really quickly. And it keeps accruing and accruing and accruing and accruing. And so it can be 10 times what it started out with.
But our clerk here has been working with us and willing to take the cases out of collections to address these financial obligations.
Okay, and then number two, how is Miami-Dade able to do what they're doing?
So Miami-Dade's a little bit different. Every jurisdiction is different because their sentencing orders are different. So it's very jurisdictional in nature. Miami's sentencing order followed the Florida Rules of Criminal Procedure in that it did not include fees or costs in their original sentencing document. So we did not have to go through the same process that we do in other jurisdictions.
And you have to understand, again, I'm not the most political person, but the more liberal the area, a little easier it is to accomplish these things. So you had a public defender, a state attorney, and a supervisor of elections down there that was pretty much all sort of simpatico
Supportive of Amendment 4.
right away. Here, it was a little more of an argument, but it got done.
One of the things that I don't think you mentioned was the website, Jessica, that I've already gone out and contributed. You can, I mean, I don't think there's a better contribution you can make to helping the returning citizens get their, pay off their fines and fees. And you've already collected a bunch. I had actually proposed, I told Jessica before, at a DEC meeting when the SB 7066 was first announced, and Carrie Howard, our public defender, came to give everybody the bad news of what it said, and I sort of innocently raised my hand and asked, couldn't someone get in touch with George Soros and have him just, figure out what the amount is, and he could afford it, pay it all off, and we're done with it. But it got shot down.
When they first changed things, when they first came up with this idea that, they have to pay the restitution, I know I read in the paper, and it was kind of confusing, that people who are felons, some of them might not, if they register the vote and they're not supposed to, then they're in trouble and they're going to get, and I would think that if I think that, and I wasn't sure if that's still the case, that they would think that too. Of course, if they come to your organization, that's different. Perhaps there could be some kind of, information given out about that, so that people who are coming back will know that, it's not, this is not the same situation that they said before. What are the people who go to try to vote or register and they're not supposed to? What happens to them?
Yeah, so right now, there's a general consensus. We can't speak for every jurisdiction, every state attorney, but the general consensus is, unless there's a very apparent willingness to defy the law, they're not going to press charges. Each individual applicant has to make an affirmation, and it's based on their knowledge. And if they're not sure, how are they going to prove that they do? It's really, you can speak to that better than I can. You have to prove the intent and the mens rea of the person who is signing that. And because we can't even get in a room and everybody have the same interpretation of everything going on, I think the expectation's the same for the applicant.
So you're registering for felons to vote, but if they haven't paid their fines, they can't get a driver's license, which means they can't vote. So what is being done to help them do what, and not just, in my mind, it's not just former felons, there are a lot of people that don't have driver's licenses and aren't able to vote. Is there anything going on to address that issue as well?
Yeah, the clerk does throughout the state, they do what's called Project Greenlight, and it's an opportunity for anybody who owes any fees and costs related to their driver's license to reinstate their driver's license by getting on a minimal payment plan. So there are ways that people are addressing those issues as well, and it's through the clerk's office. It's state mandated.
Right. But you don't need your.
But there's no major effort by, because I've been looking into this. This to me is a huge issue because it affects so many poor people, and I can't find anyone, any organization, anything that is that is really focused on what can we do to help people get driver's licenses so they can actually go to the booth and vote?
So there is an organization that we work with, and I don't have their card, but they actually provide transportation to people to the polls. So there are organizations out there, and I can get the name of the organization that we work with and send it to Mike to send out.
Are you gonna give us your website?
Sure, it's www.floridarrc.com.
And if you lose it, you just Google Florida Rights Restoration Coalition.
Probably find us.
Which you can read.
She's been having a question since.
Well,
Sorry.
Thank you. If I'm a felon, I'm an ex-felon, I guess, what would you tell me? I mean, let's assume, A, I've done my sentence already, but I still have a fine. What would you tell me?
We're just looking to see, we want to make, a lot of folks don't exactly know. So we just,
Right, I
you may
don't
not
know.
know.
So what would you tell
So
me?
we just simply look into your history to see where you were convicted.
Okay.
Let's say you only have a conviction from Palm Beach. The clerk, the clerk system is available to us in our office at my laptop. You come in, I'll look and say, oh, ma'am, you only have one case from 1999. You served your sentence. The only thing that's outstanding is some court costs. I'm gonna get those court costs removed from your sentencing order, and now you can go vote.
Okay, so you're saying you can remove them, is that what you're saying?
I can remove them from the sentencing order,
And
which
put
makes
them
you
out.
eligible to
Right.
vote.
But not remove them
Yeah,
from what
you're
you
still-
still
Okay.
owe them.
Oh,
It's just
so
no
it's a
longer a
separation,
prerequisite to
really.
voting.
Right.
And then what we're doing at that point is connecting you with someone from the clerk's office to figure out a way either to settle, to make a lower payment to settle it, or to get on a payment plan so that you don't have any issues with your driver's license.
Okay, and you can
So
do
you
that
can
all.
go to the supervisor of elections, fill out a registration to vote and get it,
Yeah,
even though you haven't paid the fine.
yeah.
Right, if you
Just
get
don't
it separated.
Just don't
yeah.
conflate it. A fine
Fine's different.
is different. A fine is part of the punishment. But there are very few fines. Court costs is what you don't have to pay in order to vote.
Oh, you have to pay the fine in
Yeah.
that payment plan you said. was-
No.
No.
Court costs.
This is exactly why it's so confusing,
Right.
and we encourage people to register so we can help them understand this process. There's no one cookie cutter fix to
Is
address
there-
everyone's issues.
There's nothing on the registration form to vote that says you're a felon.
Yes,
is there?
there is on the
There
new
is?
form.
Yeah, you have to affirm, I think, that if
Well-
you've been convicted, then that you've done all your sentence.
The old form, which is still legal and allowable to use, but it depends on where you are if you can get it. The old form just says you have to affirm that you're not a convicted felon, or if you are, your right to vote has been restored.
Right.
The new form actually has two separate affirmations you have to choose from. One, that you got your rights restored through the clemency process, or two, that you got your rights restored through Amendment 4. The problem with the new form is there's other people that cannot register with that form, because if you came from an out of state with a conviction and you had your rights restored in the other state, there's no box for you to check. So we're trying to get everybody to use the old form. So you don't have to self-identify either.
Is the new form on hold? That's what someone told me.
Palm Beach County has the new form on their website, and I've already addressed it with them that they should change it to the.
Does Palm Beach County even have voting machines yet?
Get up there.
Way back.
Yes, everybody that I spoke with about this issue, they is afraid that once they go to find out how much do they owe, that they're gonna be locked up again. They're gonna be put in jail because they can't pay. So it's hard to get them to do it for us to get them to vote. I want them to vote.
And that's why coming to an organization that are run by a returning citizen, I feel like people can trust us a little bit more than a state agency, and we understand that. But if we can explain the process to them, then I feel like we have a better opportunity for them to be less concerned.
We've got to know.
Because there is,
I can understand that, but they just do not trust
Right.
nobody. And if you look at me, you know why. They do not, that's what I have to say. They do not trust, they think that You're gonna say one thing, do another, they owe money, they be going back to jail.
Well, the hard part too is in certain jurisdictions, that is the case. There is a debtor's prison. In certain places, if you owe, they can come find you and arrest you. In Palm Beach, that's not the case.
And Palm Beach only, that you know of.
No, there's other places where they don't arrest you if you owe court costs or money. But I'm just saying, unfortunately, there are places that they do, so I don't blame people for being scared.
Yeah, they are.
But I can just tell you in Palm Beach, there's no such animal as getting an arrest warrant issued because you owe court costs.
The state
Well, we
attorney
need
here
to
is
get-
very excited about the program, and he was on board the whole time.
We need to get the word out, really, is what it is in the churches, you know, I mean, so people know. I mean, there's a lot of confusion out there right now, so.
Yes, it is.
Two quick questions. When is the deadline for voter registration to vote for in this coming November election? And is Miami-Dade the only county that has split off court costs as part of the census?
No, Palm Beach.
No, so the second part of your question.
Automatic, well, Miami-Dade is automatically split.
Right, so what we're finding is, again, we're going throughout the state trying, you know, we've met with different stakeholders in different counties. Some orders, sentencing orders do and some don't. And then you have some jurisdictions such as Broward, where it's all over the place. There is no standard. Every judge's sentencing order is different. It's just, we have to address it on a case-by-case basis, addressing the order to determine what's in the sentencing order and whether or not we can take out the fees and costs.
And the deadline for voter registration?
I'm not sure.
I think it's 6 weeks prior to
What is
the
it?
last.
29 days. Is that right?
Yeah, next
She's saying that one.
Yeah, I think it's 6.
August or September, I think.
It said 29 days.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the restriction that would not enable a person to get a driver's license? What is it, court course?
There's a lot of different things that can get you not to have a driver's license.
What about getting a state ID? Does that apply to state ID?
You can get an ID. Give me
Yeah,
a
because then you could vote with the state ID.
You don't need a valid, you don't need a driver's license to vote so long as you have an ID. That's always good. So
I just thought that might be a workaround.
No, the driver's license isn't, that's not the issue. The issue is, your sentence
Financial
is,
obligations.
yeah, your sentence isn't complete because you have these financial obligations. Not, you have financial obligations, which means you can't get your license, which means you can't vote. That's not what it is.
And the financial includes the court course.
Yeah.
It just-
Well, so, no, in Palm Beach, so long as you come to Jessica, then she sends you to us, we can get the order signed from a judge that says, don't worry, your court costs are no longer part of your sentence. But we need them to come in to do the order. It has to be, like Jessica said, case by case, person by person.
So is there anything that we can do other than give donations as lay people if we're not attorneys to help you guys?
Well, I mean, if you're talking to folks, I would encourage them to go on the website and to contact Jessica's
So
people.
just one-on-one?
Yeah. Which I think
We
is.
have, over 2,000 applicants in our database right now that we're working through. So, getting people to our website to register for the program. And then obviously, definitely, donations are very helpful. We not only have our funds and fees fund, but we're a nonprofit. So everything we do is based on donations and grants.
Do you have an estimate of how many people will be registered through your programs so they can vote in the next election by that deadline?
So, we don't have a projected estimate. We just did launch the bus tour to announce the program, and we'll be taking that bus to every single county. The reason we didn't push the program so, fast initially is we had to get the program up and running. We had to make sure and do it in a slow pace at the beginning so we can fine tune it to make sure that when we get that influx of applications, we're ready to handle it.
The League of Women Voters has a checklist that they passed out at green light. We went to green light, we had some problems with the police at some of the areas. No comment there. But moving right along, we did hand out this checklist, and a lot of people have no idea, none, of how to get to vote. They have no idea how to restore their rights. I can't even understand what you told me about it. I was gonna write it down, but I realized, you know, getting from here to there, even if I were an attorney, which unfortunately I'm not. So, the idea of a checklist, which Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity came up with, is wonderful to me. I passed out about 30 of these at green light, and people looked at it like it was the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or something. They were just in love with that sheet of paper and said, oh, thank you, thank you. So I thought, can't you guys get a sheet of paper, follow the yellow brick road here, so that I might even be able to understand it? You said very nicely, explain it to somebody. I don't even know what to explain.
Right. So,
you have to explain it to me first.
Right, and the problem with that is because it's so convoluted and it's so complex, to write it down one certain way won't apply to everybody, and we can't even give somebody the right answer if we're not looking at their disposition.
No, but if you do steps, say if you tried A and have you tried B and have you tried C, you know, you could get all that complication maybe in.
Right, but we can't give legal advice.
Right.
An attorney has to look at the
You're not,
disposition.
has to look at the piece of paper?
Yeah.
That's what's so hard about this is you have to really vet these cases and these people, because you don't want to lead them in the wrong direction.
They're not letting any do it.
No, but
Well,
isn't the answer to go to Jessica, to her group?
Yeah.
That's the answer, because they're the ones that know. They're the ones that know if somebody has convictions in Palm Beach and Broward and Miami and whatever, because then what Dan is able to do is not going to work, because it's not just Palm Beach County, it's several counties. And if it's just Palm Beach County, then she can pass it over. But I think the message is that there is a path, you know, and I don't think they need to know exactly how it works. You know, what they need to do is they need to contact the people who know how to make it work.
Jessica, would you like me to hand these out?
Sure, that'd be great.
I mean, think about it, they're getting an advocate and a lawyer for free to help them work through it. The advocacy group and then the lawyer, and we're not charging them anything.
Right.
So they just have to reach out.
Okay, so I'm a part of a clergy group. So what do you want, what would you like for us to do?
So I know that there's lots of organizations that are working with clergy, including us, that have voter registration drives. If you want to invite us to attend them, to be able to answer any questions. Again, we can provide flyers, we can provide sign-up sheets. All we have to do is I haven't set up this attorney assistance program with attorneys throughout the state and nationwide. We have attorneys from California, from New York, to even look at the out-of-state issues. That when they come to our system, no matter where they live in Florida, we'll be able to assist them.
So you want to be invited to do a voter registration drive? Is that it?
Or to speak on fines and fees, on the fines and fees.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I read that 1.4 million felons stand to get their voting rights back. And you just said it was about 500,000?
No, it's
And the
about
state-
560,000 that owe legal financial obligation.
And that's what stands in their way of voting. We just saw last week in Virginia that Mike Bloomberg put a lot of money into those, the House, the two races, and now the two houses in Virginia are Democratic because of Bloomberg's money, partly because. Can't someone like Bloomberg or Soros, Beach have to say to loosen up $1 billion or so and cover all of this? Has anyone approached these people?
We're just raising funds so we can address the financial obligations where there are no problems or no programs set up in their counties. We are trying to find a pathway for every returning citizen to find and be able to register to vote.
One of the things that Dave Arenberg said at the press conference that really struck me is that it's a public safety issue. It's it's good not just for the returning citizen, but the society, because they've done studies. Recidivism rates are lower because people feel part of the community, that they're doing something, and this is, you know, and this is why, I mean, it's not so totally surprising that a number of Republicans supported Amendment 4. You know, I mean, on your board, right? Isn't Neil? He was.
We're a nonpartisan organization made up of everybody.
Yeah.
So this is not a partisan issue.
Other questions?
Are prisoners counted in the census? In other words, is that added to the population of the state?
Could I say something about that? The problem is that aren't a lot of the, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't a lot of the prisons in like red counties?
Yeah. So what happens is
yeah.
so they're counted on where they live, which is in the prison. And so when you look at the funding for prisons and you do some personal research, again, we're a nonpartisan organization, so I would let you guys do your own research. You know, I always tell everybody just follow the money, and that'll tell you a lot of what's going on in this state.
Palm Beach only has the one prison. Out in Pahokee. No, it's actually a reentry prison. So the public defender's office and the local stakeholders, it's actually one of the first prisons to do that in Florida, where it's all about helping people sort of get on their feet when they do get out. So they offer schooling, job coaching, resume building, computer,
All kinds of training.
computer science stuff. And so what we learned is that recidivism, which is just a fancy way of saying reoffending criminally, went down in Palm Beach County once that prison got going. So when they got out, they were able to get jobs, lead successful lives, and not be forced to commit desperate acts because they were living on the streets or poor or just trying to survive, you know.
Just trying to get a meal in a place.
Yeah, so that's all very true.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much.
All right.
Don't leave that.
Okay.
I don't, when I started, it was $4,000. More than five. And I, you know, I don't really have a practice in administration in New York, but I would like to, you know, to use some. So, and I assume that I can do it. There's no problem with it. It's all pro bono. I'm not,
I'll send you the information, because there's not everybody takes the CLE. What we need help with is
I know one of my. I just thought back in that flash about, I don't really know what happened.
Yeah, Claire?
Yes.
Claire? Hang on.
Don't go yet. Sorry.
I'm sorry, everybody. It will not take very long, but I have an initiative that we would like the whole community to hear of. And you're going to forgive me because I didn't write this. Somebody else who's supposed to speak tonight could not make it, and so I'm going to read you his words. Okay? First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Claire Crest, and I'm part of a brand new initiative called the Second Chance Initiative, having very much to do with what we were just talking about. This group is a perfect example of what a small number of concerned community citizens can accomplish with sufficient motivation. We're all motivated in this political system. The program was originated around a table by Steve West, founder of the Rational Majority and a longtime community activist, Robert Watson and Jerry Hillebrand from Lynn University. And Jerry is the head of the Social Impact Lab, and everybody knows Robert Watson. He's a very strong liberal professor, okay? And in addition to that, Angela Williams, who's the founder of MAMA. MAMA is Mothers Against Murders Association. Okay, and the four of them are friends, and they got together, and they brought in many other community groups, because what they want to do, very simply, without reading it, is they want to get everybody registered to vote, which is the next step from what we were just talking about. And the way we have an initiative, which is starting Sunday. Those groups, in addition to the League of Women Voters, a very important part of this, because we're the ones who are going to do the registration. I am a member of the League, very proud of it. Okay, the Legal Aid Society is going to have people at each registration site. Let me go back. There will be 5 registration sites at 5 different churches in Riviera Beach and West Palm Beach. And this is only the first of a string of these registration events that we plan to have right up until Election Day. Moms Demand Action has been very helpful. As a matter of fact, just for this Sunday, they're providing the snacks for everybody. The Palm Beach Clergy of Florida Association and the FRRC. So you can see that literally, ladies and gentlemen, in 3 weeks, we have gotten this together. And it's an amazing feat. And we're going out this Sunday in order to register as many people as we can. And we're going to the communities where there are disenfranchised people and people who are coming back from incarceration. And it's very important that we reach them. The question was asked, how are we going to get them registered? What our plan is to go out into the community. And at first, anyway, we're going to go through the churches. The churches are the ones who have the one-to-one relationship with these people, and they will trust their own pastors. Okay, and we're going to be registering the people through West Palm, Riviera Beaches. Our next registration will be in Delray Beach. We know that the need is great there as well. And we will be going on maybe once a month or once every 6 weeks, continuing to register as many people as possible and trying to make a difference in the communities that what we're all talking about now. The more votes we have, the more of a democracy we have. The more of a democracy we have, the more it reflects democratic beliefs. Thank you. And by the way, I want to recognize Arlene Houston and Nancy Ballin and Nancy Applebaum, who are with my group, and they'll be with us Sunday at the churches, along with many other people. So this is a community effort. Like I say, this has been organized in 3 weeks, and we have a fantastic response. People are supporting us both with manpower, Legal Aid Society, legal advice, and it's going to be wonderful. Thank you very much.
Are we done?
Okay, yeah, I guess we're done.
anyone wants to volunteer for one of our committees, if you haven't done so already, we have a list out there. I don't know where the signing sheets are. Are they still there? Out there? But maybe next time. Yeah, you know, one thing we want to do is get out on the street, which we haven't done. You know, Swinton and Atlantic with signs and, yeah, okay. Oh, so they're still out there, maybe you one on the way out.
Can you announce my difference?
What? But, I mean, people are leaving that
I just want to make one announcement, everybody. All People's Day is a festival that we have here every year about connecting people from many different cultures and many different situations through the arts. Because, you know, the arts touch people's hearts. We have monthly meetings that are free right here at Pompey Park. The next one is Disproving Prejudice Lies Through Puppetry. You make a puppet. It's in December, so you can give that puppet as a gift or keep it yourself. And on the stage, a puppet stage, you can get a paper like this and see what we're doing. We have the first puppet is different in some way. The second puppet makes fun of them. The third puppet defends them. It's defending people. That's what we need to do. We need to defend people who have been incarcerated. We need to defend people who are being bullied, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So if you're interested
No, I'm
in
good.
one,
If
I can tell you our programs, and then
you can email me, and I'll find out.
Thank you.
Right.
I have one, but I think able to sign it.
Okay.
My mother said, like an assistant with the class, she wants to.
All right, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let me turn this off.
Yeah.